his business is not generating an income while he's injured or sick. And if you don't have certain measures in place and you have these events happen to you in your business, right? This could result in you exhausting all of your savings, right? To support you during a time of critical illness or serious injury. So you need to put these safety nets in place that if something happens to you, the business can continue and your family will survive.
And
The bills
Cardi,
will be
if
paid.
I could add, I've seen this playing out so many times where, as entrepreneurs, what may happen is you are sick or you're tired or you probably met in an accident, and there are a lot of things that has to stop. It could be even a death of a family. A lot of things have to stop because this is something that we don't think about, and we don't think about it because we don't know that it exists. As with any other thing that you're doing, you're just thinking about how am I going to make the money? But what if that money is not coming in? What then happens? And this is why I think this conversation is just so important.
I think we know that it exists, we just don't think it will happen to us.
Well, sometimes because the world of entrepreneurship has gotten so large, and a lot of people, this is what I want to do, and persons are leaving, they've not had experience in the business world. So, they don't know that business protect themselves against these things. They're not thinking about it, and they don't have a business coach, or they don't have a business consultant, a business advisor. So I just know how to make a bottle of water. I'm just going to make the bottle of water. I'm not thinking about what if persons consume it and something happened to them, or if my machine break down, or if my employees are not there. So sometimes persons aren't thinking that insurance is really important for business.
Yeah. So again, if you get sick, critically ill, or injured in your business, you need to be able to still cover your expenses, take care of your families, and ensure that the business is alive after your recovery. So let's look at some of the tools that we can use to help with this. So disability insurance in the case of injury and or illness, right? What if you are the main income earner? You have to consider if you can't work, your rent still has to get paid, your mortgage still has to get paid, those loans need to be paid, your admin staff needs to get paid. What will help you with this? So for disability insurance, this provides you up to 80% of your qualifying insurable income on a monthly basis, and this is capped at about 6K, right? So the disability injury, say if you have a fall or get hit or something like that, that is a guaranteed issue, and you can add illness coverage as a rider. So imagine you're not able to work, you're now stuck in recovery, which can be expensive in and of itself, right?
Yeah.
But you know that you have this monthly income coming in, and you get to choose the terms, right? You get to choose the benefit period, you get to choose the wait period, right? And the amount of coverage that you get, you can use various factors to determine. It could be gross income or net income. So it's flexible. You can create the plan that works for you and your business.
Yeah. Cardi, one thing you said rider just now, I don't know if our audience understand what that means.
Well, it's just adding a feature, right? So a rider is an additional feature that you can add onto a policy. Okay. So critical illness insurance now it covers certain illnesses, up to 25 illnesses depending on the provider, right? So for example, cancer, stroke, a heart attack, those are quite popular in Canada, right? And the probability of having this before you get to the age of 65 is quite high. So how would you survive this? How will you take care of your medical expenses, get medical equipment if needed, having in-home care, right? And I've heard stories just like you, Michelle. I heard one lawyer say that at 30, in her 30s, she got diagnosed with breast cancer, right? No family history, right? But she got diagnosed with breast cancer. But she had critical illness coverage, which means that she was able to go through treatment and her practice didn't die because she had the funds to bring in additional help into her business during that time. So she could go back to her business afterwards.
And
right?
that is critical for persons to think about, that not only for that, in that example, that the lawyer was able to hire somebody to work for her while she recovered, but the business was still generating income. So imagine she's getting a compensation, through her insurance. She's able to hire someone and the business is still operational. So when you think about how important insurance is, it's affecting how your business operate because you also work for your business. So that example is something that persons really need to think about.
Yes, for sure. Right. So this critical illness payout is after 30 days. So there's 30-day survival period, and it's a lump sum payout, which is tax free. Disability coverage is a monthly payout. So in the first instance, when you get hit with that diagnosis, you'll have all sorts of bills coming at you in the first instance, right? So this critical illness lump sum ensures that you have that covered. If your recovery period is lengthy, having that disability coverage paying you each month will ensure that you're not worrying about the living while you're in recovery. So it does give you a certain amount of peace of mind when you have these safeguards in place for your business and your family. So again, if something should happen to you in your business, what do you need to know, right? You need to know that customers will move on if you can't serve them, and the competition will rush in. And if you're not able to perform in your business, what are the options to you? Close the business, sell the business, or just hold on to it until you've exhausted all resources. But these are not the only option. You can actually get business overhead expense coverage, right? So this can help you cover these fixed contractual overheads inside of your business. Cover your rent, your equipment rental, or your loan payments, right? And this is the premiums for this is tax deductible. So your business does not have to, you do not need to go bankrupt, right? If something happens to you, your business can survive, right? So having these tools in place, your disability insurance, your critical illness insurance, and business overhead expenses ensures that you can maintain your admin team, you can service your loans, you can make those contractual payments that won't go away if you're not able to show up for work.
Yeah, and when you think of your business as separate from you, or you look at, I always encourage persons to think about another company or business that they like and they admire. I want you to think that they have all of these things in place, or most of it, because we know when you're starting out, depending on the level, the growth scale that you're on in your business journey, you may just be able to survive. You're probably not even paying yourself as yet. But as you grow, these are some of the goals that you want to have for yourself, that, you know what, I need to have insurance on my business. I need to insure. Let me start with me. Let me have a critical illness in place. Then I can move on to the other things. But don't want to incur expenses for other things and not think about the what ifs. Because the what ifs, when they come, it's sometimes too late. So you want
Yes.
to really think about that.
Definitely, you want to have these as foundational safeguards in your business, right? To
Yeah.
take care of those unforeseen what ifs. And it gives you a certain peace of mind, right? You might feel that you're not thinking about it, but you are thinking about it, right?
Yes.
So imagine if you have that nagging thought, OMG, what would happen to my kids if I'm not able to provide for them,
Yeah.
right? Will we lose the house, right? Will we have to exhaust all our savings? Will we have to move in with the parents, right? So we need to consider all these things.
And this is, I had a thought just now about if we have persons who are joining who are thinking about starting a business. I encourage persons, if you currently have a job and you're thinking of starting a business, include insurance as an expense that you will need to take on your own. So it's not just your salary. So, like I remember for me when I was thinking about going full time into entrepreneurship, I took what my salary was and I multiplied that by two. I was like, okay, this is the amount that I need to be able to make in order to survive, because your employers are paying this for you, and you may not even be aware of it, and you still want to continue doing that. So when you have your when you think, if you're on and you're thinking about starting your business, this is a cost that you want to consider when you're working through your budget. So it's not just your mortgage or your rent or your car payment or your gas or your salaries or groceries. Include insurance as one of those expenses as well.
Yes. And just to share another story, I'm not sure if anybody has heard about Dr. McGlucky. He's a speaker now, but he was a chiropractor before, right? So he had an accident, but lucky for him, he had travel insurance at the time. He got hit by a car, right? And those medical bills came up to $1.6 million, right? Right? Let's think of that. Insurance covered
What
that
what
bill for
currency?
26 bucks, right?
What 1.6? What? You have to clarify the currency.
It's USD, right? Because he was in the States. And the other thing, because of the accident, he could not go back to his profession. He had a long recovery period and he could not go back to his profession. So his disability insurance supported him during that period of recovery. Right? So we need to know that these things can happen just like that, right? And we might feel that, okay, if it should happen, I have this plan. I'm going to use this savings. I'm going to use that. But you never know when it will happen. And consider, for pennies on the dollar, you can secure your family. You can secure your business.
Yeah.
So the other element of business risk that we need to consider, right? Business continuity. Again, even though we say that a corporation is separate from the individual, a business is made up of individuals, right? People make a business. But what happens if an owner passes? How will the business transition, right? So some businesses, if they don't have a plan, right, they might be forced to liquidate in order to settle an owner's estate at that point in time. So they're not allowed to continue because they didn't have a plan for that, right? They didn't have a plan to ensure the business is properly funded to transition, getting new skill sets when that owner passes. For a family business, you might have the head of the family working in the business and nobody else knows about what's going on in the business, right? So they need to bring in skill sets. And if there's not something that pays out immediately, right, almost immediately to the family, they will not be able to cover the bills. So this having life insurance in the instant of death helps you to ensure that your business continues. Some businesses might have these key persons, that charismatic individual, that dynamic salesperson or whomever, right? Somebody who's critical to the business success. And if they pass, that would impact the business significantly. You can have life insurance in place on this person to ensure that if they pass, even if the business revenue goes down, you are able to use that life insurance payout to support the business while it transitions, while you find again that skill set. Some businesses are very highly leveraged. You might think of a real estate investor, right? You have these big assets, right? But along with these assets come quite a lot of debt, right? So that's a high debt environment, and sometimes the cash flow is limited. And more than likely, owners sometimes have to personally guarantee these loan facilities that support this business. So what happens if they pass? The creditors will come knocking, and
Yeah.
they might be forced to liquidate these assets. And some assets might not be easily liquidated, right? So what happens during that time, right? So you have to have these safeguards in place. A good business will have, if it's set up properly, they'll have a shareholder agreement, and inside of the shareholders agreement is a buy-sell agreement, right? So
Yeah.
this, if you have multiple owners in the business, right? What will happen if one passes? Because when you pass, your portion of the business is deemed disposed of, right? There will be capital gains tax, right? But the probate process might really slow down the sale of your portion, or getting liquidity out of the business. If you have a buy-sell agreement funded by a life insurance policy, in the instance of death, then what happens? The proceeds gets paid into the company, and the remaining owners are able to settle with the deceased family that portion of that business without having to sell off the assets or waiting on, because some businesses there's no real market for it, right?
Yeah.
So you can't, and if you don't have these measures in place, the families suffer, right? Because there's no liquidity.
And for persons who are on or watching the replay, think about these four things and think about your home. We don't go to bed with our doors and well, it depends on where you live, but we don't go to bed with our doors and our windows open. When we exit our motor vehicle on the road, we ensure that it is locked. These are the safeguards for your business. So this is your business lock and key. These are the doors to protect you in the event anything should happen. So it's a probability, and that is why they're there and they're in place.
Yes. So you have to remember why we start business in the first place. We want them to be able to support our families, right? We want them to, we are creating a legacy for our kids to enjoy. And if we don't put the measures in place to protect that legacy, to protect those assets that we're working so hard for, and then we lose them. We lose them to the big tax bill at the end, right? CRA takes its portion if you don't have those measures in place. The creditors come and take it if you don't have those measures in place, right? So at death, your assets are deemed immediately disposed of at market value. Your debt, all debts become due. Your taxes are due, and your income stops. If, especially if you're a solopreneur without a team to continue the business. So put these measures in place that if something happens, your family lives on, and the families of those who your employees, they too can continue to have that income come in because you had these measures in place. So I know talking about illness and injury and dying is a bummer sometimes, and that's why we push it off, right? It's no fun having these kind of conversations, but there's a light in all of this as well. Life insurance is not only about income protection or safeguarding your family, it is actually a wealth creation tool. If you choose the type of insurance, some types of insurance allow you to build up an asset inside of your policy. It's called cash value, right? This asset can grow tax exempt, right? Tax exempt. What's the biggest destroyer of wealth? Taxes, right?
Everybody loves that word, tax exempt.
Right? So you're building an asset that grows tax exempt. You're also able to leverage this asset in the future quite easily to access cash to pursue opportunities, right? So as a self-employed or business owner, you realize that you have to, if you go to a financial institution, you have to give them a certain number of years of your T2 or whatever, right? You have to, it's like drawing blood, right? The process is challenging sometimes. But if you are building an asset inside of your policy, leveraging it with an insurance company to access cash is very simple. It's basically you telling them where you want the money deposited, right? And the interest rates that you get on these loans from insurers are very typically below market, right? So for example, my policy that I've built up my cash value in, if I wanted to leverage it for a loan, my interest rate right now would be 3.9% compared to the 7 and 8 in the marketplace, right?
So it's really seeing your insurance as a part of your financial planning and your financial bucket, and not just, all right, I'm doing my savings, investments, or loans here, and then there's insurance over here. It's all together.
Yes, and then some individuals have a challenge of getting money out of the business that they can leverage personally. This is one strategy that you can use to get money out of your business, right? And even create a retirement plan. Big corporations might have that structure where they have your pension, but as a business owner, a smaller business owner, you have to create that for yourself. And this is also a tool that you can use funded for your retirement. So in your retirement years, you have access to cash flow, and you have various methods to access this cash flow, including tax-free methods to fund your retirement years, right? So again, protection, because insurance is in the business of protection, right? Protecting you in the instance of illness, in the instance of injury, in the instance of death, right? And it's not only for the end, it's also for the journey, right?
Yeah.
And there was one other element that we didn't quite talk about. Teams. As small business owners, we have teams, and we know that businesses are built by people, right? And you need to incorporate, in my mind, right? As business owners, you have a responsibility to impact your community, right? And you have the opportunity to make certain things accessible to your team by providing a benefits package, right? And these are some stats just to signify how important it is to your team to be able to access good healthcare for themselves and their families. 2 in 5 employees would prefer having a benefit plan over a 25K raise. And in Canada, we can understand that, right? 25K, half of it goes to the government. But benefits that you get from having a benefit plan, it actually goes to the employee tax free, right? 80% will look at benefits. I know that when I was in corporate, I look for companies who offer benefits. I have kids, right? So if I want to take them to the dentist, I want to know that it's easy. I don't have to come out of pocket because getting a cleaning can be expensive. It's $250. Getting your glasses replaced, right, can be very expensive. $500, right, for the glasses. So having this plan in place can be very beneficial and it's very desirable to prospective employees, right? And then 76% of individuals in this survey said that they would, if without benefits, that they would leave their employer for a job that offers benefits, right? And the other two stats, I can definitely say, I can say that I can imagine that they're true, right? It says that 21% higher risk of low employee productivity without benefits. If you're worried about your kid that needs to go to the dentist, but you just can't afford it, you are distracted at work.
Or if the child is sick and you need to stay home, you can't go to work. If you had
Exactly.
the benefit now to take them, you're thinking, oh, I have to come out of pocket. I don't have the money. So guess what? We have to stay home and try and nurse this at home. You're not at work.
Yes.
Or as you say, you're at work, but you're not focused because you're thinking about, your child being sick or even you.
Exactly. So it does impact productivity, right? People who without access to healthcare, if they at least the additional offerings of healthcare, their recovery period is lengthy, right? It's more lengthy than if somebody can easily go to the doctor and access the medication at a discount at an affordable price, right? And when you think about offering this to your team, yes, there's a cost attached to it. It's tax deductible. But then you have to consider the opportunity cost of having to replace your staff ever so often, having to retrain, right? Having to endure that learning curve. Which one is more expensive, right? So these are some of the things that we take into consideration when looking at our businesses, right? You highlighted the certain strategic, operational, financial, and all of those risks that are very important that we need to monitor on a regular basis. But then we need to also take care of our people in the business, because without good people, without being able to retain good talent, our businesses will die, right? And if we don't have those safeguards to take care of the what ifs that are common to all people, right, and will impact your business if there is nothing there to as a buffer or a safeguard, right, then the business again will not survive. So we're at the end of our presentation, and I want to just say thank you for everybody who has listened to the live presentation and who will listen to the replay, right? So what happens to your people if something happens to you? What happens to your family? What happens to your team? What happens to your customers? Right? So you need to consider all of this and put in these safeguards that will, having them in place actually helps you to move forward in your business with more confidence.
And
Right?
ease. You're not worried all the time about
Yes.
the as you said, the what if. Because another thing that I want persons to think about as we get into this wrap up phase is, don't just see it as a cost. When you look at your cost, think about the return on the investment. It is an investment. What return am I getting? I'm getting a return, like you shared earlier, that my staff is going to be more motivated, they're going to be more focused, productivity is going to be higher because they know that their needs are taken care of. So what is that return that you're getting? And it's not just a cost that you're just, just spending money.
Yes, so it impacts employee engagement, right? Having been able to offer a benefits package, it impacts employee confidence when they know that, or even if they don't know, that the manager, the owner has a plan in place to ensure that the business continues, right? That they still continue to get paid, right? If the owner is not able to show up for work and they're active participants in the business. So again, don't gamble with the lives that your business supports, right? Don't gamble with your business. Take the necessary precautions, whether it's building out your strategy, planning for all the what ifs, the different scenarios that might impact your business, and also take care of the risks that might impact you and the families that the business supports. So,
Yeah.
do you have any closing remarks, Michelle?
Just one person's to think about your business as an entity that you want to continue. That's if that's what your plan is. I know there are persons who they might be saying, whenever I can't do it anymore, it's done, or they're not building something that's going to continue or to be sold. But if you are, and you have persons who are depending on you, whether you're family or you have a team, that you think of how you can also protect them and see insurance as a viable option in supporting you along that financial journey, and also include insurance in your financial planning discussion for your business. I know a lot of focus is placed on the income and how am I going to be generating revenue, or how am I going to be paying we mostly think about your operational expenses or your admin expenses, but include in your financial discussion insurance, because it's very important and it will protect you in the event that anything happens.
Yeah, so for pennies on the dollar, you can put a safeguard in place that the what ifs won't be catastrophic to you and your business because you had that safety net. You've transferred the risk to somebody else called an insurance company, so you don't have to worry about it. And
Like with the vehicle. we pay the insurance, so therefore anything should happen. Or they stole the car, that's fine. Let me go to the insurance company. Yeah.
yes, exactly. So if you should want to reach out to me, this is my info on the screen here, info@moneymattersca.com. And if you want to reach out to Michelle, her number is on the screen as well, 647-354-1397. And Michelle, tell them your email.
So my email is info@successbusinessclub.com. I'm going to also drop it in the chat, so you can reach out to me. And I am Success Business Club as under my name on all platforms. So you can send me a message, send me an email, or even call.
Okay. So if you want to figure out how this can support you, how Michelle can support you in building out your strategy, taking care of your business, putting in risk mitigating stuff into your putting risk mitigating strategies into your business, give her a call. And if you want to put those safety nets, those financial safeguards into your business, also give me a call.
Okay. I see persons, well, as I was checking the chat, I said Jesse was on, saying very informative. I hope other persons found it that way as well.
Well, thanks again, Michelle, for joining me. Thanks again, viewers, for watching. You can get the replay. It will be there on LinkedIn, on Facebook, so you can watch afterwards. And toodles. Bye, all.
Hi, guys. Thanks for joining.